Some places on Earth were never meant to be reached. Yet somehow, humans built paths through them. Across China, impossible landscapes have become some of the most breathtaking and terrifying destinations on the planet. Roads carved into vertical cliffs, glass bridges hanging above endless abysses, and narrow trails where a single wrong step could mean disaster. Here, nature does not welcome visitors. Towering mountains, raging rivers, and unpredictable weather turn every journey into a battle against the elements. These are not ordinary sightseeing trips. They are challenges where beauty and danger exist side by side. Today, we enter 50 of the most impossible and dangerous places in China locations, where every step is an adventure and every movement tests the limits of human courage and survival. Fangg Shan. Fangg Shan rises as a network of enormous sinkholes and deep-cast caves, thrilling every explorer at the sight of the first sinkhole. Some sinkholes here reach nearly 12,200 feet deep, with openings wider than 600 feet, creating a real challenge for those attempting to explore the subterranean depths. Underground rivers flowing through limestone caves form channels and basins, allowing scientists to observe erosion processes over millions of years. The limestone layer ranges from 1,000 to 2,000 feet thick, helping maintain sinkhole stability and forming sharp limestone towers on the surface. This area has been studied since the 20th century, providing crucial data for geological mapping and topographic surveys of Guangxi province. Dashiwei Tian. Dashiwei Tian is located in the southern region of China. It is a giant limestone sinkhole formed over millions of years because long-term geological dissolution created a rare vertical structure on Earth. The sinkhole is about 2,100 feet deep, a depth comparable to a building taller than 180 stories. So, it is classified among the largest natural sinkholes ever documented in modern geological research. Inside the sinkhole, there is a fully developed forest with many trees taller than 100 feet. So, this enclosed environment provides clear evidence that ecosystems can survive in isolated conditions below the surface. The surrounding rock walls remain nearly vertical through most of the depth because limestone layers were gradually eroded by underground water over long periods. So, the landscape forms a continuous natural barrier around the lower space. Sunlight reaches the bottom only for a limited period each day. Therefore, temperature and humidity inside change more slowly than outside conditions and help maintain long-term biological stability. Tiger Leaping Gorge is located in Yunnan province in southwestern China. This canyon formed along the upper reaches of a major river and became one of the deepest gorges in Asia, with a depth of about 12,400 feet. The distance from mountain peaks down to the river surface creates an extreme elevation difference. This condition increases water speed and allows rock erosion to continue steadily over millions of years of geological change. The river is forced through narrow passages only a few dozen feet wide. This restriction increases hydraulic pressure and produces powerful rapids capable of moving rocks that weigh several tons. The terrain of the gorge includes cliffs that rise almost vertically for thousands of feet. This structure makes transportation systems and infrastructure construction extremely difficult from an engineering perspective. For many centuries, this area functioned as a natural corridor through rugged mountains. This role helped people understand survival limits and the need to adapt to challenging environmental conditions. Water pressure inside powerful rapids can become strong enough to move rocks weighing many tons. This force demonstrates the mechanical energy carried by a river flowing through steep and narrow terrain. Kaidum Basin, located in Qinghai Province in northwest China, stretches over 250 miles and is one of the largest inland basins of Tibet, attracting explorers due to its harsh terrain. The surface of saline mud can reach 5 feet deep, forming areas difficult to traverse and challenging human movement in arid conditions. The land extends hundreds of miles between large salt lakes, where mud and minerals form natural patterns with white, red, and yellow colors distinctly distributed. This basin once served as an important trade corridor, providing salt and minerals to inland routes for hundreds of years and leaving historical traces of local extraction. Daytime temperatures can exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, while average rainfall is below 4 in per year, creating extreme conditions for a limited ecosystem. Lnure is located in the Xinjiang region of northwestern China, forming a vast, dry basin that once held an inland lake, but has turned into a harsh salt desert with almost no possibility of long-term human survival. The area became famous after a large lake completely disappeared during the 20th century, when water sources were diverted and the average yearly rainfall often stayed below 1 in. Temperatures at Lnure can rise above 113 degrees Fahrenheit in summer and fall below 0 degrees Fahrenheit in winter, creating an extreme environment rarely seen on Earth. From 1964 to 1996, the region served as a nuclear testing ground where more than 40 tests were carried out under strict military control. The modern landscape is defined by thick white salt layers, cracked ground forming polygon patterns, and long wind-carved ridges stretching hundreds of feet across the dry desert surface. Today, scientists consider Lnure a natural outdoor laboratory that provides critical data about desert expansion, environmental change, and the limits of human survival in severe conditions. Taklamakan Desert in the Xinjiang region of northwestern China is one of the most extreme and expansive sand deserts on Earth, which makes this location widely recognized as a symbol of harsh natural environments. The average annual rainfall is usually below 4 in, which prevents soil from retaining moisture and limits the natural growth of vegetation across the entire region. Many sand dunes in the desert rise to nearly 1,000 feet and extend continuously for dozens of miles, creating vast, uneven terrain and making long-distance travel difficult. Strong winds frequently reach speeds above 40 miles per hour, helping generate large sandstorms that can reduce visibility to very low levels within a short period. Historically, this region has been considered a major natural barrier between large population zones, forcing transportation and trade to rely on careful logistical preparation for many centuries. At Tanga Desert in Inner Mongolia, China, human vision is constantly deceived by mirages appearing directly ahead. First-time visitors often see what looks like water a few hundred feet away, but as they approach, the entire image disappears completely. With no clear natural landmarks, a person can lose direction within 10 minutes, even when traveling less than 1 mile. Strong winds exceeding 40 miles per hour can erase all footprints within a few hours, making it nearly impossible to return to the starting point. No long-lasting architectural structures exist in the core desert because environmental conditions rapidly destroy materials. In some areas, a white salt layer reflects light so intensely that it becomes impossible to distinguish solid ground from illusion. Ming Shaashan, located in Gansu Province, China, is a vast sand dune complex where peaks reach 300 feet, challenging visitor endurance and balance skills. The sand formations developed over thousands of years from strong winds, moving an average of 1 to 2 meters per year and creating constantly changing, impressive landscapes. The dunes alternate with small, dry valleys, allowing observation of sediment layers and diverse terrain from above. Some large dunes can reach 300 feet high and extend over 1 mile, offering climbing and extreme desert exploration experiences. This area once served as an ancient trade route, allowing visitors to imagine caravans traveling for many days across harsh desert conditions. The sand avalanche phenomenon produces a loud booming sound like a large drum when thousands of tons of sand move simultaneously down the slope. Kungland Valley of Death lies within a vast mountain region in western China, and the place is widely known for dangerous natural conditions and unusual accidents. So, it is often described by the symbolic name Gate of Hell. The terrain in this region is mainly dry rock and open ground, extending across large areas without interruption. This condition makes water difficult to accumulate and limits the development of the ecosystem. The average annual rainfall remains very low, and strong winds frequently occur during unstable weather periods. This process accelerates soil erosion and makes survival conditions more difficult. Many research teams must carry water and fuel for long journeys without supply points. This requirement shows that the region lacks infrastructure and is unsuitable for permanent settlement. The name Gate of Hell appeared from past reports of animals dying suddenly in the area. This history turned the location into a symbol of dangerous natural environments in scientific and geographic studies. At Huku Waterfall in Shaanxi, China, a massive river is suddenly compressed and forced downward, creating a concentrated and powerful natural phenomenon. The entire flow appears thick and brownish yellow due to heavy sediment, making it resemble dense liquid rather than ordinary water. Before dropping, the river is forced from about 300 feet wide down to roughly 80 feet, dramatically increasing pressure and speed in a confined space. Even when standing several hundred feet away, the constant crashing sound of water remains intense, creating a strong sense of pressure even without seeing the flow. Instead of falling in a smooth sheet, the water continuously breaks into layers and swirling currents, keeping the surface in constant motion. The extremely high sediment density changes how the water behaves on impact, causing it to spread and collide with rock in ways rarely seen in other waterfalls. The Tangpo Grand Canyon is located in the Tibet region of China and stretches about 340 miles. So, it is recognized as one of the longest canyons on Earth. Its depth, in some sections, exceeds 20,000 feet. The terrain creates an extreme elevation difference and increases the natural erosion rate over millions of years. The river, flowing through the canyon, carries a large volume of water throughout the year with strong discharge. It helps shape the landscape and continuously deepen the canyon over geological time. The rugged terrain and limited access keep the region largely undisturbed, so a wide natural ecosystem can remain intact with minimal human impact. The landscape features towering cliffs rising thousands of feet along the river corridor. The area is often considered one of the most impressive large-scale natural environments on the planet. Mei Snow Mountain is located in Yunnan province in southwestern China as a towering mountain range with the main peak nearly 22,000 feet high, famous for extreme mountaineering challenges. The glaciers, up to 300 feet thick, stretch across deep valleys, forming a permanent ice system rarely seen in the southwestern mountain ranges of China. The main peak of Mei Snow Mountain has never been safely climbed, making all mountaineering attempts stop at hazardous foothills. The mountain range, formed by the collision of the Indian and Chinese plates, creates sharp peaks and deep valleys, providing important geological data for tectonic research. Some rare plants and animals live at different elevation zones, allowing scientists to study extreme environment adaptation and high-altitude ecosystems. On some mountain slopes, thick ice layers accumulate into wedges and natural prisms stretching hundreds of feet, a geological phenomenon seen only at Mei Snow Mountain. Anjihai Grand Canyon is located in Xinjiang province, China, featuring deep red fissures that attract geological explorers and adventure tourists. The canyon walls reach from 300 to 700 feet, with nearly vertical slopes showing the strong erosion forces acting continuously over millions of years. The red soil contains high iron content, forming distinct strata and offering valuable insights into natural erosion and geological history. Some canyon gaps are only 10 to 20 feet wide, but hundreds of feet deep, creating natural narrow passages challenging for terrain observation. Rainwater flowing through small channels carves into the red rock, forming grooves that change seasonally and with weather conditions. Scientists have discovered fossilized insects and ancient plants within the red layers, providing evidence of an ecosystem from millions of years ago. At Wushan, in Fujian, China, there is a narrow rock crevice only 2 feet wide, where the sky is reduced to a thin line stretching above your head. The vertical cliffs rise about 100 to 160 feet high, forming a compressed space that removes almost all horizontal visibility for anyone walking through. Some sections allow only one person at a time, forcing the body to turn slightly to avoid contact and making every step feel physically restricted by the environment. The rock surface stays wet because water is trapped inside the crevice, so each movement requires careful footing to avoid slipping on uneven stone. Air moves slowly inside this confined space, creating a dense and heavy sensation compared to the open environment outside, even without obvious weather differences. The rock surface shows multiple erosion layers and fine cracks, revealing a long geological history shaped continuously by water and weather over time. At Mount Fanging in Guizhou, China, a nearly vertical rock mass rises into the sky, creating the feeling of being completely separated from the ground. To reach the summit, visitors must climb more than 8,000 steps over several hours, exhausting the body before arrival. Some sections of the path are less than 3 feet wide, with steep drops on both sides, forcing constant balance and focus. The summit is split into 2 separate rock masses, connected by an extremely narrow passage, forming a rare natural structure. When dense clouds form, visibility can drop below 30 feet, causing the surrounding space to disappear within minutes. Constructing structures at the summit required materials to be carried by hand up thousands of steps, a process that took many years under extremely harsh conditions. Hidden deep in Hubei province, Shenongjia appears as a primordial forest, almost completely isolated, where entering it feels like stepping out of the modern world. In a single journey, you can pass through multiple ecological layers stacked by elevation from about 1,300 to over 10,000 feet without leaving the area. This forest contains more than 3,000 plant species, many dating back to the Ice Age and still surviving in nearly unchanged form today. The forest structure rises in layers from ground moss to ancient trees hundreds of feet tall, forming a dense vertical ecosystem. Due to complex terrain and thick vegetation, large portions remain unexplored, leaving significant potential for future scientific discovery. GPS signals and phone connections often disappear inside the forest, cutting people off completely from the outside world for hours at a time. Mount Sigunyang, standing at the intense transition zone between the Qinghai Tibet Plateau and the Sichuan Basin, Mount Sigunyang rises like a natural wall dividing two worlds, with four main peaks reaching 17,620 feet, 17,882 feet, 18,582 feet, and 20,550 feet. The mountain stands as massive pillars of snow guarding the heavens. According to folklore archives, this sacred peak is the embodiment of four sisters who transformed into stone to protect this land. Its vertical cliffs, as sharp as a giant's blade, create a magnificent sight that seems to tear through the very sky. Several climbing routes here are classified as world-class extreme difficulty, reserved only for the most seasoned experts. At these high altitudes, the ancient layers of ice and snow pose a constant threat of sudden avalanches, turning this splendor into a ruthless trap of nature. Madoi Lakes. On the Qinghai Plateau in western China, Madoi Lakes stretches over 13,000 feet above sea level, where the ground can deceive every step you take. What looks like solid grassland is actually a thin layer of mud over permafrost, and one wrong step can sink you more than 1 foot without warning. The lakes here have no clear boundaries, as land and water constantly merge, making maps outdated after just one seasonal change. Here, you can stand on what appears to be dry land, but you are actually on a mix of cold water and ice that can swallow your entire step within seconds. Bim Snow Mountain in Yunnan, China, is a high-altitude range where weather can completely shift within hours, creating a harsh experience from the very first step. At elevations above 13,000 feet, people quickly feel short of breath because oxygen levels drop by about 40%, causing faster energy loss than normal. In heavy snow conditions, visibility can fall below 30 feet, which is enough for a person to lose direction within minutes if they move off course. Steep terrain combined with loose snow creates a constant risk of natural snowslides, even without strong external triggers. Within a short journey, the landscape rapidly shifts from dense forest to bare rock and snow, showing a sharp and continuous change in elevation. Water here can boil at around 185 degrees Fahrenheit instead of the usual level, showing how low air pressure directly affects basic survival activities. Hidden deep in Guizhou Province, China, Ketu River is a place where a river can completely disappear into a mountain and reappear somewhere else. The entire region formed as limestone was dissolved over millions of years, creating a vast underground network with spaces as large as major structures. Massive natural arches rise hundreds of feet high, cutting through mountains and allowing sunlight to pass directly from above without obstruction. Towering vertical walls over 1,000 feet high compress the space into a narrow corridor where your view is constricted and the sky becomes only a thin strip above. Some sinkholes drop several hundred feet deep, where sunlight cannot reach the bottom, creating permanent darkness even during the day. This is one of the very few places on Earth where a natural river continuously shifts between surface flow and underground passage within the same system.